Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Edwards Air Force Base. Today, the men and women of the 412 Test Wing pay special tribute to Mr. Daniel Osburn. In recognition of his 26 years of distinguished civilian service to the United States Air Force and Edwards Air Force Base. The presiding official for today's ceremony is retired Colonel Kirk L. Reagan, United States Air Force. I am Guillermo Ortiz, and I am honored to serve as your MC for today's event. For the purposes of military protocol, today's event is considered an indoor ceremony. During the playing of our national anthem, military members in uniform should stand at attention and should not salute. We invite our civilian guests to participate by placing their right hand over their hearts. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of the official party, singing of the national anthem by Ms. Heather Leopold, and remain standing for the invocation by Mr. Chuck Staley.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming? And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Bow with me as we pray. Father God, we come to you this afternoon because you are a great God, the one true God, and there is none besides you. You created all things, and the heavens continually declare your glory. The moon and the stars proclaim your handiwork, and the rain reminds us of your mercy. You determine the beginning from the end, the length of our days, and all the circumstances within them. You raise up leaders, and you bring them low, and you direct their hearts like streams of water in your hand. When we consider your greatness and all that you have done, we are humbled that you would think of us at all. Yet your word tells us that your thoughts toward us are many, more than the sand. And so as we gather this afternoon, it is right to give thanks to you, O God, because you are good and you do good. We thank you for the blessings and freedoms and privileges we enjoy in this great country. We thank you for health and breath and strength. And as we gather this afternoon, we also want to thank you for the many years of faithful service given by our friend, our teammate, and our leader, Dan Osburn, as he retires from the federal workforce. Thank you for the decades he has served this nation and for his lasting contributions in support of America's warfighters. We thank you for his faithful leadership, his encouraging mentorship, and his steadfast friendship. We thank you, Lord, for the remarkable strength that you have given him, that even through incredible adversity, he has pressed on with courage, becoming a living testimony of resilience and hope to all who know him. We thank you for his diligent work ethic and his service before self attitude. We thank you for his sense of humor and for his consistent passion to do what is right for the warfighter, for the 412 Test Wing, for the workforce, for our customers, and for taxpayers. And so we give thanks to you, O God, acknowledging that every good gift comes from you, and Dan has truly been a good gift to Team Edwards. We pray your blessings on both Dan and Kathy in this next season of life. Your word reminds us that there is a season for everything, a time for every purpose under heaven. And so we ask that the days ahead would be marked by meaningful purpose, enriching relationships, and lasting health. May they find joy and satisfaction in the days to come. Grant to them wisdom in how they use their time, their talents, and their treasures, and help them to rejoice in the many ways that you have blessed them and to be continually marked by gratitude. And we all ask all these things in the name of Christ the Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Leopold and Mr. Staley. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Please join me in extending a very special welcome to Mr. Osburn's family. Mr. Osburn's spouse, Ms. Kathy Osburn, their daughter, Ms. Houston Osburn, and daughter-in-law, Ms. Bailey Osburn, their son, Mr. Wyatt, and fiancé, Chauncey Adams, Mr. Osburn's father, Mr. Ron Osburn, and mother, Ms. Linda Osburn, Mr. Osburn's aunt and uncle, Linda and Roger Osburn. It is our distinct honor to have with us today from the Air Force Test Center, Mr. Arthur Huber, Executive Director. From the Air Force Research Laboratory, Brigadier General Douglas P. Wickard. From the 412 Test Wing, Colonel Thomas Tower, Commander, and his spouse, Ms. Janet Tower. Colonel James Hayes, Deputy Commander. Chief Master Sergeant Joshua Skrlokin, Commander, Chief Master Sergeant. Mr. Mike Silos, Director of Staff. From the United States Air Force Test Pilot School, Colonel Marianne Carlin, Commandant. Mr. David Van Hoy, Technical Director, and his spouse, Ms. Helita Van Hoy. From the 412 Operation Group, Colonel Clifton Bell, Commander, and his spouse, Ms. Jamie Bell. From the 412 Mission Support Group, Colonel Christopher Carnoth, Commander. Chief Master Sergeant Bradley Stem, Senior Enlisted Leader. A warm welcome to all our commander, directors, friends, colleagues, and coworkers who are joining us today in person and virtually. Thank you for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce our presiding official, retired Colonel Kirk L. Reagan.
Sorry, I have to use the glasses these days. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is retired Colonel Kirk Reagan, and I had the privilege of serving with Dan both at the beginning of his civil career and towards the end. When Dan asked me to officiate today, I was deeply honored. Dan is a great man, leader, engineer, and friend. However, since that time he asked me, This Test family has suffered a devastating loss, and the room is different than I'd hoped. The Torch 11 accident is personal for all of us. Most in this room were either teammates, co-workers, wingmen, friends, or family. It's those families that are carrying the heaviest burden, but we are all carrying the load. We will forever remember the crew for their bravery and sacrifice to the Test community, the Air Force, and the United States. It's time for us to pull together, to ask for help if you're struggling, and to lend a hand if you're able. I left the Air Force 5 years ago, and since then a lot of people have asked me, do I miss it? And I can tell you there's a lot of things I don't miss. I certainly don't miss doing CBTs or morning stand-ups. But the two things I miss most are the sense of community and the sense of purpose. I still do feel part of the community. I just don't see you every day, and I'm not working beside you any longer. But the people that are sitting next to you today are going to be part of your life for the rest of it. Long after these assignments, these job titles, and these projects are over. Dan was one of these close connections for me. We still talk monthly, and during football season, we trash talk almost every day. I've known Dan since 2003, and today I want to talk a little bit about the Dan Osburn that I know. I want to thank his parents, Ron and Linda, for molding Dan and supporting him along the way. I'd like to thank his children here today, Houston and her wife Bailey, Wyatt and his fiancée Cece, for their sacrifice of Dad's time. I'd also like to thank Roger and Linda and cousin Matt for making the trip. But most of all, I want to thank Kathy, his loving wife, his sounding board, his steady hand, best friend, and the woman that has kept the family together. Now, many of us have had to listen to Dan vent once or twice, or maybe even 100 times. But I promise you, nobody has had to hear that more than Kathy. She is his rock, and not because it sounds nice, but because it's true. And the accomplishments that I'm about to talk about today belong to her, her family, and many of the people in this room. Now, over 2 decades of working with Dan, I've been witness to some of his greatest moments and some of his absolute biggest buffooneries. In true aviation story rules, I will apply the 10% rule. I will not let facts get in the way of a good story. And when I first was asked, I immediately went to try to find some good photos of when we first worked together. I had turned my on-base house, the garage, into a party room, complete with kegerator. Many of you sitting in this audience today have probably been there. And I knew that Dan had been there many times, and I knew there was some incriminating evidence in those photos. But I looked everywhere, but I could not locate said photos. And then it dawned on me that was before the camera phone was invented. This, my friends, was the golden age of bad judgment. I also asked NPF to help search me for his old records, but they had told me that the dot matrix reports had been shredded decades ago. So today I will rely on hearsay and recent reporting. Dan's life began in Southern California, Newport Beach. He was a surfer, water polo, loved swimming, and loved cars. At age 16, a tragic accident cost him his legs. But he refused to let that point define him. He went back to school, back to his friends. He even went back to the pool and the swim team. Now, usually engineers, myself included, we are not known for our athletic prowess. But Dan is the exception. Even I didn't know the extent of it until I started talking with him. He started at the Cypress Junior College in a wheelchair basketball, and then went on to be on the U.S. international travel team for wheelchair basketball. He went on to Cal State Fullerton, got a mechanical engineering degree, and he put that engineering degree to good use to build and design a titanium racing wheelchair. He competed in marathons and 10Ks all over the world, and he even won a silver and bronze at the Nationals at the age of 21. And believe it or not, that is part of the 10%. Now, his aerospace career began at Northrop Grumman, and within a year, he was already working on the classified B-2 program. Now, for most people, that would be a career highlight, but this was just the beginning of a pattern for Dan. Dan was a liaison engineer. He was hands-on and he didn't let any limitations stop him. One day there was a problem in the radar bay, so Dan made sure that he was on top of it. That day there was also being a tour held by the Vice President of Northrop Grumman. But the Vice President was very confused when he walked upon the B-2 and saw an empty wheelchair by the nose wheel. He had no idea why there was a wheelchair in the open bay, and certainly didn't understand why it was empty. So he went to investigate, and he heard a voice from above. "Hey sir, how you doing?" It was Dan, hanging up in the radar bay, taking a first-hand look at the issue. Dan was always going to be where the action was. If it was up in the jet, Dan was going to be up in the jet. If it was a shop problem, Dan was going to the shop. He moved on to the F-18, and then on to Skunk Works X-35, the prototype that would one day become the F-35. But he wanted more. He wanted to work closer with the military, and he learned about this great thing called civil service. He had no idea that he could work side by side with our military members, so he said, "Sign me up." Now, many of you know in this room that he probably just did it for the huge government signing bonus. But he chose it for the mission, the people, the test community, and solving the warfighter needs. He started Edwards in the year 2000 on the world's greatest aircraft, the C-17. And within 3 years, he was a C-17 lead and chief systems engineer. He worked on semi-prepared runway ops, wheels and brakes, RTOs, subsystems performance, but also the unglamorous projects. Some of you were around for C-17 COSA modified rhyme tests. Now, our first interaction was not necessarily pleasant, not my finest hour. I was hot, we had a problem, and I let Dan know it. And shortly after I left, he said to himself, "Who in the hell is that guy?" But he solved my problem, and we've been friends ever since. One of the things I think is truly amazing about his time with C-17s is he was on a 5416. And for those of you who don't know what a 5416 is, it's a document that allows engineers and others to fly on aircraft that aren't on normal flying orders. Now there's one issue, is you do have to get cleared by a flight doc. And when the flight doc went and investigated Dan, obviously clean bill of health. But he said, "I don't think I can sign off on this. I don't think you're going to be able to get out, and your wheelchair is going to be an impediment to others in getting out." And he said, "Well, what are the requirements?" Flight doc said 90 seconds. So Dan pulled a stopwatch out of his pocket and said, "Here, let's go." So he went out to the aircraft, the bell rang. 12 seconds later, Dan was not only outside of the aircraft, he was 300 feet away and headed back to the Heritage Room for another beer. Now, the 418th camaraderie during that time was very high. And every Friday at 4:18, we were down in the Heritage Room for a nice little beverage. It usually began with a strong page to Colonel Latimer. "Lieutenant Colonel Latimer, please report to Conference Room 138 for an important meeting." "Lieutenant Colonel Latimer, Conference Room 138, stat." But she knew it was urgent. It was usually one of the usual suspects: Dan, Matt Williams, Elliot Tea Time Jensen. We also had a tradition during those times that involved Mirabelle the cow. So this was a plastic lawn ornament object of some sort that I'm sure some sticky finger loadmaster had somehow acquired. I didn't ask any questions. But Dan was a frequent recipient, as it was given to the subject of the greatest story of buffoonery for the week. Again, the 10% rule. One of my favorite memories of that time was certainly a winter for Dan. We had a golf outing. Now, we all know Dan's creativity, his problem solving, and his athleticism. I am confident that he still could have kicked my butt that day playing golf. But Dan realized he had a higher calling. He had a higher sense of purpose that day. And so instead, he chose to work on the beer cart. But Dan quickly realized he was going to have a small problem. Getting out of the beer cart and serving all of the thirsty customers would choose challenging and time-consuming. So again, Dan's a problem solver. He decided to rope his wheelchair to the back of the beer cart. This would put him closer to the beer tap and certainly easier to service all of the customers. However, Dan's engineering prowess failed him. He forgot about a critical thing called Newton's Law. And towards the end of the afternoon, they were racing down the hill towards Colonel Latimer to offer her for final beer, and the beer cart made a sudden stop. But his wheelchair did not, until it did. It smashed in the back of the beer cart. The wheelchair went flying, pieces went flying, articles of clothing flying, and he lands at the foot of Colonel Latimer, looks up and says, "Ma'am, can I offer you a beer?" Now, it would be easy to turn this into a roast, because Dan has given us such great material. But it would undersell the man who made such an impact here at Edwards. Dan fully understood the assignment of work hard and play hard. And when the mission required judgment, courage, and skills, you wanted Dan on your team. After the C-17, he went on to the electronic warfare. There he built teams, recruited engineers, and grew technical capacity. He worked on the platforms like the B-2, the B-1, the B-52, F-22, F-35, F-16, Global Hawk, C-17, basically the entire United States Air Force inventory. He moved on to the F-35. After only 11 years of government service, he was leading a team of over 220 members. His career had come full circle. He started on the X-35 prototype early in his contractor career, and now he was on the production F-35 as a leader. He started as the F-35 chief engineer, working on government and contractor teams, thousands of sorties, and complex developmental tests. He was quickly promoted to the F-35 deputy director, where his duties expanded to budget, security, maintenance, test operations, facilities, senior leaders, and partners. One of his most proudest accomplishments was when they dropped 32 different weapon releases in only 30 days, and all from Edwards Air Force Base. He was told it couldn't be done from Edwards, they should go to Eglin. But he proved them all wrong, and with the team, they accomplished this monumental task. Dan is always a problem solver, whether it's technical, logistical, or personal. The person that you trust when the problem is too large, too messy, too technical, political, or too important to fail, you want Dan. Now, I returned in 2018 as the Vice Wing Commander, and shortly afterwards, the 412th Senior Technical Director, Dave Wheaton, left. Now, it was only a couple days after my arrival. I'm sure that was just a coincidence, but nonetheless, the position was open. And General Teichert pulled me aside one day and said, "Hey, what do you think about bringing Dan Osburn up here?" And I just laughed, giggled, and I said, "I think that's going to be freaking awesome." And shortly after, Dan and I were sitting in the headquarters office, 4:18 on a Friday, drinking a beverage, and he said to me, "Hey, did you ever think those days when we were sitting in the Heritage Room at the 418th that we'd be sitting up here running the wing?" And I said, "Well, probably, but I didn't think we'd be on this side of the desk." Now, Dan's role involves technical oversight across this massive developmental test enterprise. He's been working on almost every platform in the Air Force inventory, including classified and future aircraft that we may not know for many decades to come. He's worked on the ranges with workforce and increasing standards. All in all, it was a resume of over 5,500 people, 11 groups, and over $1 billion budget. All for a guy who forgot Newton's law. Now, the highlights while he's been here are the B-21 initial flight test campaign, unmanned collaborative combat aircraft prototypes, Vista AI flight demonstrator, hypersonic missile testing, expanded bomber weapons arsenals, B-52 radar modernization, KC-46 developmental test leading to delivery, T-7 flight test replacing the T-38, range integration, as well as being the Range Council Chair for over 4 years, helping to collaborate across all of our nation's ranges. He helps start Orange Flag, accelerating our interoperability between platforms, and still lots of classified work still yet to be told. There's also probably plenty of engineering breakthroughs that frankly I'd be embarrassed to try to explain. This isn't just a list of accomplishments. Each one of these events took years of planning and preparation. They required very detailed teams and lots of people that Dan helped to organize and facilitate. It's work that sits at the forefront of our nation's military capabilities, and it serves as the constant deterrent to our enemies. But not all of Dan's work was glamorous. Over the last 7 years, Dan has sat in more meetings than most of us will in our entire lifetimes. Most of the time he sat at the end of the table, but sometimes he briefed the higher-ups like the AFMC 4-star. And on one such occasion, there was a very tense exchange. It got heated fast, and Dan needed to silence the mute. He slapped that mute button, he looks over at his team and says, "Don't they know how frickin' hard this job is?" But Dan didn't say frickin'. Dan was very surprised when he heard the 4-star respond, "Yes, Dan, I do." Dan is a brilliant engineer, but he has a recurring enemy, the mute button. This is one of only many, my friends. But he said what others were thinking and what others really wanted to say. The other interesting thing that came about in my research was Dano comes with his own user manual. When his assistants come to work with him, they are handed this user manual, as well as usually getting a classified briefing on how to interact with Dan. Now, I wish this was funnier than it is, but it's really simple and straightforward. His values are humility, integrity, kindness, and COAs. His priorities are people, programs, and progress. Of course, he has areas for improvement, disconnecting from work, taking on too much, his choice of football teams, and of course that stupid mute button. But beyond the test plans and the reports, he worked on making Edwards the community that it is. He worked hard to work on the civilian population to grow it both professionally and personally. His main priority was making sure that the people were taken care of correctly. I equate Dan to the Andy Reid of Edwards. Now, for those of you that are unfamiliar with the National Football League, Andy Reid is the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. And the one thing that's remarkable about Andy Reid, other than the fact that he coached the Philadelphia Eagles, is that he has many assistant coaches, defensive, offensive coordinators who have gone on to be head coaches of their own. And in the NFL, we kind of talk about this as their coaching tree, because there's many layers that have been underneath Andy Reid that have now risen to the top. And that's why I equate Dan to the Andy Reid of Edwards. He has influenced and mentored many future leaders, including myself. And in 2021, when I retired, I knew exactly who I wanted to ask to officiate my retirement. It was the person that I respected the most. It was the person that I went to battle with and for. And someone that I knew I would have a lasting friendship well beyond my retirement. For me, that was Dan. And it is an honor to be returning the favor today. His words and his presence mattered to me most that day. And your presence here today matters to Dan. Now, in one of his appraisals, I came across a quote, "Impossible to capture impact in 4,000 characters." I would say that's true. I would say it's probably impossible to capture his impact in 4,000 pages. A rock star is not too strong of a term. He wasn't seeking applause. He was the problem solver. He recruited, trained, mentored, pushed, and protected his people. He made sharper teams, better informed commanders, and more credible products. And most of all, he developed better, younger engineers. He was a truth teller to commanders. He wasn't afraid to call the baby ugly. He didn't wear rose-colored glasses, and he told it like it was. He made hard decisions easier with facts, judgment, and courage. But still, Dan was funny, personal. He was very generous, and most of all, he was always all in. He always understood our warfighter demands, but he also understood that they could not be met without great people. So today we're celebrating more than his career, we're celebrating his life of service. He went from being a SoCal surfer to the 412th Senior Technical Director, and he helped shape the future of developmental tests. He had every excuse to step back, but he kept competing. He was a civilian airman who took a pay cut to serve his country directly. He made our C-17 mission safer, he built extraordinary talent in EW, and he delivered 5th-gen capability to the F-35. To all of us, he's been a mentor, a loyal wingman. To some of us, a husband, a father, a son, a friend, a teammate, and most importantly, a patriot. Now in the Air Force, when someone leaves, the mission must go on. And it will. And some other Dan will sit in his chair. He'll take his meetings. He'll sign the paperwork. But Dan Osburn's influence will not be replaced in a week. His mentorship, his judgment, his standards, and his examples will ripple through Edwards for generations to come. He has made the Air Force, the test community, the 412 Test Wing, and all of us better. Dan, it's been a pleasure to serve with you, and it's been my honor to officiate today.
Thank you, Colonel Reagan. I'll take a moment here. All right. Thank you, Colonel Reagan. Mr. Osburn, would you please join Colonel Reagan at center stage? Ladies and gentlemen, please stand. Colonel Reagan will now present Mr. Osburn with the Outstanding Civilian Career Service Award. The Department of the Air Force presents the Decoration for Outstanding Civilian Career Service Award to Daniel W. Osburn in recognition of his distinguished performance as Senior Technical Director, 412 Test Wing, Edwards Air Force Base, California, from 1st May 2000 to 28 June 2026. As Senior Technical Director, the 412 Test Wing, he provided technical oversight across 11,000 member military and civilian enterprise. His leadership anchored Edwards Air Force Base $4.45 billion economic impact and secured a $2 trillion test portfolio. By directing developmental tests for the F-35, B-21, collaborative combat aircraft, KC-46, F-47, and classified programs. He accelerated critical capabilities to meet the national defense strategy, ensuring global air superiority and strategic deterrence. Furthermore, he established enterprise policy for systems engineering, workforce management, and test process. His enforcement of uncompromising technical rigor guaranteed consistent standards and flawless mission execution, cementing the 412 Test Wing's role as the nation's preeminent aerospace testing center and guaranteeing the operational readiness of the Department of War's most advanced weapon systems. The distinctive accomplishments of Mr. Osburn's culminate a distinguished career with the United States government and reflect great credit upon himself and the Department of the Air Force. Thank you, Colonel Reagan. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Colonel Reagan will now present the Department of Air Force certificate to Mr. Osburn. It reads, Certificate of Service from the United States Air Force. This is to recognize Mr. Daniel Osburn for 26 years of faithful and devoted federal civilian service on the occasion of retirement from employment with the United States Air Force, given this 28th day of June 2026. Signed, Thomas M. Tower, Colonel, United States Air Force, Commander, 412 Test Wing. Additionally, we have a letter from the 412 Test Wing Commander. It reads, Dear Mr. Osborne, it is my honor and distinct pleasure to congratulate you on this auspicious occasion of your retirement from federal civilian service. Your immeasurable contributions have made an everlasting positive impact on the United States Air Force and the defense of the United States over the course of your 26 years of dedicated service. You can take immense pride in your steadfast commitment to striving for excellence in a career hallmarked with significant achievement and countless successes. As a C-17 subsystem engineer lead at the 418th Flight Test Squadron, you led high-risk test programs such as the rejected takeoff testing and Mazir Bugatti qualification testing, significantly expanding C-17 maximum gross weight and mission effectiveness. Your unique display of technical acumen and servant leadership took you into a role of C-17 Chief Systems Engineer, where you inspired a multidisciplinary team of more than 20 military, civilian, and contract personnel through all phases of flight tests, and drove major improvements in technical reporting. From there, you served as the flight chief in the 771st Test Squadron and created opportunities for the young workforce through your championship of academic programs, increasing continuing education participation by 20% and enhancing technical readiness. Your career expanded to F-35, first as the F-35 Chief Engineer, then as the F-35 Deputy Director. You stepped into these positions at the height of the program's complexity, smack dab in the middle of system development and demonstration, and guided the F-35A and B variants to initial operational capability. Then you went on to lead more than 150 personnel as the 773rd Test Squadron Director. Through your leadership, 13-plus platforms and programs accomplished major events such as the KC-46 Milestone C. Finally, you guided the test wing as the Senior Technical Director, providing technical oversight across a 4,500-plus person combined military and civilian enterprise, supporting major and emerging weapon systems, including F-47, B-21, collaborative combat aircraft, KC-46, F-35, and multiple classified programs. Your people-first leadership is your legacy. Your performance has exceeded all expectations and set worthwhile examples for others to follow. I am honored and proud to have served with a dedicated civilian servant of your caliber, whose devotion to duty will be emulated by many, and a professional who epitomizes the best traditions of the Air Force. On behalf of our grateful nation, and especially the men and women of the 412 Test Wing, thank you for your dedicated and devoted service. I wish you a happy and successful future. Sincerely, Thomas M. Tower, Colonel, United States Air Force, Commander. At this time, we would like to invite Mr. Osborn's spouse, Kathy, to the stage to place the retirement pin on Mr. Osborn's left lapel. Every retiree receives a special retirement pin as a memento of their federal service. Ms. Osborn, at this time, we ask you to place the pin on your husband's lapel to symbolize his transition to retired status. When worn with business attire, this pin will serve to remind all of Mr. Osborn's dedicated civilian service to the United States Air Force. Mr. Osborn, please wear this pin proudly. Ms. Osborn, we have some presentos for you. Colonel Reagan will now present the Department of Air Force's Certificate of Service to Ms. Osborn. It reads, Certificate of Appreciation from the United States Air Force. In grateful appreciation, the United States Air Force presents this certificate of recognition to Kathy G. Osborn for the commitment and numerous contributions that made positive impacts to the nation's defense. Thank you for the support which gave strength and purpose to your spouse's service. Given this 28th day of June 2026, signed Thomas M. Tower, Colonel, United States Air Force, Commander, 412 Test Wing. Additionally, we have a letter from the 412 Test Wing Commander. It reads, Dear Ms. Osborn, on this auspicious occasion of your husband's retirement from federal civilian service, I want to personally thank you for your dedication and unwavering support over the course of these past 26 years. Your personal contributions to Dan's successful career have proven invaluable. Given his countless achievements, I extended to you my heartfelt appreciation and that the United States Air Force for your faithful and tireless commitment and as a cherished member of the Air Force family. Federal civilian service places enormous demands on civilian servants and their families, bringing many unique, complex, and unforeseen challenges. You can take great pride in the fact that you and Dan successfully navigated every obstacle together as a team. During his illustrious career, his contributions as the 412 Test Wing Senior Technical Director and his unwavering dedication in pursuit of professional excellence have left an indelible legacy for many now in the future to emulate. I assure you that the love, unwavering support, and assistance you provided over the years will forever be embodied in Dan's success. I am honored and proud to have served with such a dedicated team like you and Dan, whose unmatched devotion to the Air Force underscores the best traditions of civilian service. On behalf of a grateful nation, and especially the men and women of the 412 Test Wing, thank you for your dedicated and devoted support. I wish you and Dan a happy and successful future. Sincerely, Thomas M. Tower, Colonel, United States Air Force, Commander. Thank you. Colonel Reagan, Mr. Osborn, Ms. Osborn, you may now be seated. At this time, the 412 Test Wing will now offer a tribute to Mr. Osborn and to the flag of the United States of America. Please remain seated and draw your attention to our honor guard for the flag folding ceremony. For more than 200 years, the American flag has been the symbol of our nation's unity, as well as a resource of pride and inspiration for millions of citizens. Born on June 14, 1777, the Second Continental Congress determined that the flag of the United States be 13 stripes, alternating between 7 red and 6 white, and that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field representing a new constellation. Between 1777 and 1960, the shape and design of the flag evolved into the flag presented before you today. The 13 horizontal stripes represent the original 13 colonies, while the stars represent the 50 states of the Union. The colors of the flag are symbolic as well. Red symbolizes hardiness and valor. White signifies purity and innocence. And blue represents vigilance, perseverance, and justice. Traditionally, a symbol of liberty, the American flag has carried the message of freedom and inspired Americans both at home and abroad. In 1814, Francis Scott Key was so moved at seeing the stars and stripes waving after the British sailing of Baltimore's Fort McHenry that he wrote the words to the Star-Spangled Banner. In 1892, the flag inspired Francis Bellamy to write the Pledge of Allegiance, our most famous flag salute and patriotic oath. In July 1969, the American flag was flown in space when Neil Armstrong planted it on the surface of the moon. Today, our flag flies on constellations of Air Force satellites that circle our globe and on the thin flash of our aircrafts in harm's way in every corner of the world. Indeed, it flies in the heart of every airman who serves our great nation. The sun never sets on our U.S. Air Force, nor on the flag we so proudly cherish. In 1776, no generation of Americans have been spared the responsibility of defending freedom. Today's airmen remain committed to persevering the freedom that others won for us for generations to come. By displaying the flag and giving it a distinct fold, we show respect to the flag and express our gratitude to those individuals who fought and continue to fight for freedom at home and abroad. Since the dawn of the 20th century, airmen have proudly flown the flag in every major conflict on lands, skies around the world. It is their responsibility, our responsibility, to continue to protect and preserve the rights, privileges, and freedoms that we have. As Americans enjoy today, the United States flag represents who we are. It stands for the freedom we all share and the pride and the patriotism we feel for our country. We cherish its legacy as a beacon of hope to one and all. Long may it wave. Ladies and gentlemen, additionally, we have a presentation from the 412 Test Wing colleagues and co-workers highlighting the impact Mr. Osburn has left to those close to him.
One word to describe Dano would have to be genuine.
Reliable.
Anything stop him, love him for that.
A word I would use to describe Dano is authentic.
Loyal.
He embodies integrity.
Yeah, definitely inspirational. The way that you can do anything and lead the team to do anything is second to none.
A word I would use to describe Dano is passionate. He is passionate about the mission, he's passionate about what we do here on base, and he's very passionate about his people.
First word that comes to mind would be cornerstone. Dano has been a cornerstone of my entire career.
The one highlight of that meeting, of my first interaction with Dano, was how approachable he was. He was open, he understood. I didn't feel like I was talking to a wall or just somebody who was very blunt and technical. He really grounded himself and was able to understand me as a person, not just as an engineer. And I think that's one thing that separates him from the crowd.
Two words I'd use to describe Dano is caring and empathy. He always cares for the people who work for him, which is all the civilians on base, and he has a lot of empathy. When things come down from above that affect the workforce, he always battles back for the workforce and the working people in the trenches.
I would say the biggest impact Dano's had on me is inspiration. He has inspired me to not take no for an answer, to tackle all challenges head on, and to do what is right for the mission and for the people. And that is something I'm going to carry with me for the rest of my career.
He's taught me patience and pushed me to grow.
He exemplified good leadership. He taught me how to be a good leader. And in fact, he was actually the first great leader that I ever had in the test wing.
Dano has had such an influence in my career. He has exemplified high standards while simultaneously caring about the person and the mission. The biggest impact for me is really showing the people that you will take care of them, because taking care of the people takes care of the mission.
He's really supported me in the good times and the bad times as well. He's been very authentic, and just something about him is that he pays attention and he really listens and he remembers things. So I don't know how he does it. There's so many people in the workforce, but he remembers very specific details and he follows up, and that support has really meant a lot.
So when I met Dano, it was the first time for me to actually be a lead for the government. I'd done it before for a contractor, but with the government, and he taught me how to appreciate the people who I lead succeeding, and through their success, I should feel like I did my job, because it was hard for me to adjust to that new role. So he taught me how to be there for your people, and he taught me that was the best thing to do.
Dano has been one of the guiding stars of my career. Like I said, every time he's like, hey, Teresa, I have this idea. You should apply for this. And it steered me in a direction that I never thought I would go.
But I think the biggest impact would be his friendship and our friendship. It's really special to have a good friend for over 20 years, and that is something that is very rare and I appreciate greatly.
I will miss his optimism. When tackling hard challenges, he would do so with a smile on his face and a chuckle. And yes, it'd be hard work, and yes, we'd make a little dirty doing it, but it was for the right purpose. And so, having that inspiration and having that, that's something I'm going to miss.
Everything. I mean, he leaves an impact on you, but I'm kind of lucky that I'm in his inner circle, so I'll get to see him again.
Well, it's the personality for sure. There's a personality with the leader, with Dano. It's not just another head up in the office. I don't want to say that there's just a head up in that office ever, but the way that he's been able to have a kind personality up there, but also an inspiring personality to show us that nothing can hold you back, and really enabling us to do our best work and our most creative work.
I'm going to miss your ringtone on your phone. Every time I have a meeting with you, I have to go watch The Good and the Bad and the Ugly. So I'm going to miss that. So going to miss you in all of the meetings that you've been in, Dano.
I'm going to miss his sense of humor and his friendship and his warm nature and his honesty. I will miss him as a leader, but he can rest assured that for those that he impacted, that he taught us how to be good leaders as well.
Definitely his guidance, generosity, and definitely his sense of humor.
Dano is like a father to the space. If you talk to people, there's no one on the space that I have talked to that doesn't see his caring and his consideration.
Not a damn thing. We're friends. We're going to continue to be friends. I see him mostly outside of work, and that's going to continue. Just because he retired doesn't mean we're not going to be seeing each other.
One would probably be, you sure you don't want to wait like another year or two? You know, there's plenty of stuff to do here. But no, don't be a stranger, and keep in touch.
I think the final thing I would say to Dano is keeping yourself, stay unmuted. We love your real talk, and I'm so lucky to have worked with you.
Wanted to thank you for everything that you've done for us and helped to work with us personally. And even through my hardest of struggles, you've been by my side with that from a personal standpoint as well. So thank you for checking in on me personally and everything that you've done for the Test Wing.
I hope you enjoy all the best in life in your retirement.
If I could say one last thing, I would say, Dano, enjoy your retirement. You've worked hard supporting this base and these people for decades, and we're going to miss you, but now is time for you to relax, enjoy your time, enjoy your family, and thank you.
You're not allowed to leave us. We have always relied on you. You are proof that everything is possible. You completely combat any expectation and stereotypes. Coming from industry to Edwards, all of the things you've done, nothing has ever stopped you. You're inspirational to everyone on this base, and we only hope to continue to live up to that high bar you set in such a kind way.
What would I say to Dano before he rides off into the sunset, or rolls off into the sunset? I would say, Dan, you've done a great job. You should have a tremendous amount of pride in everything you did for everybody here at work. You really did battle and fight the good fight, and you won a lot of those fights. So take pride in that.
Thank you for being part of my family. I love you. And banana. He'll know what that means.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to present to you Mr. Daniel W. Osburn, retired.
At this time, I would like to take a moment of silence for 41.9 seconds for our teammates that we lost. Families, if you're a believer, I would like you to pray with me internally in your head on the grace of God during this comfort time. It's a hard time for me to retire knowing that happened. So. All right. I pray for everybody on Monday. Thanks for everyone's leadership. Handling this last week and a half has been, there's really no words to describe, but T-Bane, Chief, Boss, all of you are amazing, amazing people. The reason I came to work here was just reinforced on the tragic accident, but it was more of the response of the team. And my heart will be with this team as it continues to mend, and I will still be available and talk with people and reach the people, because I'm not going anywhere other than I'll just be in a different position, but not here with the government. But my heart is definitely with this team. So, all right, with that, I did some studying this morning. They say to write a speech. I didn't do that. Actually, it was a week ago. I said, write a speech. You'll mess up. So I didn't do that because I was actually trying to get a lot of files moved, and I was having a lot of problem with DoD Safe. It was driving me nuts. My wife said, don't log on. At least do a note cards or something, right? So thanks, babe. Great advice. So I have only 4 cards, but they are double-sided. So if I forget someone, please forgive me. It's not that I forgot. I basically didn't prepare well. First off, Mom, Dad, just want to say welcome to everyone, right? But first I want to address my mom and dad who came out from Arizona. Did an awesome trip coming out here. Kathy, Houston, and Wyatt, Bailey, Cece, Aunt and Uncle Roger. They came out from Yorba Linda, Orange County area. Surfs up out there. My cousin Matt, but thanks for that. All the leadership. Mr. Huber, thanks for taking the time today. I know everyone's really busy right now. Colonel Tower, Janet, T-Pain, Scar, Doc Waters for filling in. Double duty. I don't know how you're doing it, but I couldn't do it without you, right? So thank you so much. General Wickard, it's a blessing to see you. Thanks for doing what you're doing now. We definitely need your leadership and your extreme brain power. I want to thank all the group commanders and leaders that came out. I really appreciate it. I know everyone is so busy, but just seeing you here means a lot to me. And then all the 412 test wing team, coming out here in this heat. I'm going to keep it under 7 minutes. That's my plan. Thanks for taking the time to come out here. I have some friends I want to recognize. Jeannie Savage flew all the way out from New Jersey. We met way back on C-17 when she was a captain in the Air Force, and we made friends, so she showed up, which was awesome. My neighbors, Dave and Terry Walker, they made that horrible 38-mile commute across the desert. Prior skunk worker retired, but great neighbors of mine, and just great Christians that have kept us grounded and helped my family through a lot of different times. Matt and Kim Williams that are here that are great friends. I go camping with Matt, jet skiing. You can blame him on my broken femur 4 years ago. He said there was a good beach for a beverage, and I made a turn, and it wasn't really ready for it, and got off on it. But, all right, so those are the welcome. All right, so a lot of you heard me use this word. I'm going to give credit where credit's due. I'm keeping this speech pithy, right? Pithy. So I heard that from my wonderful spouse. Thankfully, it wasn't on our first date. Pithy means keep it really brief and short, if you don't know. So luckily, thanks, babe, for not doing it on our first date and teaching me words to use later that I thought were great. And it's actually, I've heard it at a lot of meetings, so it's kind of fun to hear that part. Wow, I mean, Doc Waters, I know you put that together. You're making that really hard to follow, watching a video of all your teammates and stuff, so thank you for taking the time for that. Made it very challenging not to tear up. That's my plan. This is a proud time, but it's also, it's the culture's not as where you would think it'd be. So bear with me. I'm going to hang in there. The ceremony. So Heather, thank you so much. My gosh, first time I heard Heather was Miss Val, who's here, who is my Bible thumper. She got me back in the Bible back in 2014 when I knew I was lost, and went to her retirement. And Heather sung, and it really struck a chord with me. So I reached to Heather. She does our finances. She keeps Colonel Tower and ourselves straight on the budget. Does an amazing job, but man, does she sing. Everyone does. So thank you, Heather, so much. Chuck Staley, actually, I can't believe he did this. He had tickets to Journey in Indiana, and he canceled to come give his invocation. So, Chuck, I don't know where you went to, but thank you so much for always being my friend, a listener, very faithful, a great person to go talk to, and thanks a lot for your invocation. The words were very eventful. All right, setting these things up are not easy, right? So, especially now with things going on. So thank you so much for the static display. Mary Parker, I know you're instrumental in helping that with maintenance, so thank you so much for setting it up. The bird behind me means a lot to me. As you heard, Colonel Reagan from X-35 to F-35 Chief Engineer. That's where I am going to be going over back to, is to work on a little bit of the F-35. And so it's a great airplane. It's a tremendous airplane, but C-17 is still probably first place in my heart, and I'll talk about that. All right. Thanks again for setting it all up, and Holly for being the proffer, and Gooey for MC, and you did an awesome job. All right. A protocol. I know Brandon's running around doing other stuff, but he still sets things up. We had no issues getting on base for my family. I'm very appreciative, so thank you. And I know the base is in a very, very structured FCON Bravo right now, I believe. So thank you for that. Chris, thanks for your team at the security forces at the gate. All right, so now I'm going to talk about the power team. So Miss Becca, Miss Emily, and Miss Sue set this up. We were in, we were out with the event. We didn't know what to do. I didn't know when I was actually retiring either, even though I had briefed a year and a half ago. May 26th was it. And when it got closer, I was like, man, I don't know if I want to do this. I still didn't. I got hurt. Things happen for reasons that we don't understand. Jeremiah, right? Jeremiah 9/11 basically puts you in that path of, he's the one in control of your path. And so I stayed back a little longer. Thanks for the grace of the wing. I know a lot of people covered for me out when I was having surgery. And that just emphasized even more I made the right decision back in my career in 2000 to come work with the military. The military-civilian bond is something I think needs to grow and blossom, but it's something I've always admired. And I've had military commanders for pretty much my last, almost a third of my decade, direct military commanders, and it's been phenomenal on what I've learned, on the wisdom they bring, the different aspects, but more importantly, the people they are. They're great, great American leaders, and you get to work with them daily. You don't get that anywhere else, and giving that up is a very hard decision for me, but thank you for all of that, for the military leadership, and this needs to bond and keep going strong. So I want to give 3 times thanks to Gooey and Holly. The reason is because they organized the event with Becca, they emceed the proffered, and they also work with me daily. And I don't know how they put up with me daily when I'm all over the map on stuff, and they kept me straight on my calendar. But I definitely appreciate you both. You're the 3 times champions, so thanks for what you do and help me. And you both got phenomenal careers in front of you. Keep it going. Special thanks, obviously, to Colonel Reagan for traveling all the way out from Texas for me, officiating. It means so much. When he asked me to do his ceremony and where it was at in Philadelphia was just, I was floored. I didn't even know civilians did that with military. And I got to meet his family, his church, pastor, all of his high school buddies. Got to learn a lot more about Kirk, which I kind of knew was there, right? Bad decisions with football. We look past that. He does go to the Eagles because he lives in Pennsylvania there, so he still goes back a lot. But thank you so much for coming out and officiating. And a lot of that was not 10%. Not even close on the percentage, but we'll let that slide. Just like the whole circle that he talked about, those are the friendships that develop and continue to grow. I was very fortunate to get to swear our new civilians in when we hired them every 2 weeks coming in. And it was Monday at 9 o'clock. And I would always look forward Mondays. A lot of people don't look forward to Mondays. I loved Mondays because seeing all the new people come in, we were bringing in so many new people, whether they were, security forces, they were CE, they were all over. Some were even AFRL, right? Some AFL friends I see out here. I saw Lester and Eva. Thank you for showing up too out there. But getting to swear them in and do the oath was such an honor. And I always left there telling them, you now have a new family. And if you open your eyes and aperture, you will find the relationships. And if you find things, ways to do better and innovate, just communicate with them, be professional, work through your line of communication, and they will listen to you. And we had several people that started, and then like a year or two later, they would come back to me and go, I had this idea and it went through. You swore me in, and it worked. And it's like, I love working here. And it goes, and I have friendships that I have this. We go off and we do stargaze, and they'll do, astronomy and stuff. So it was just great to see. I encourage this body to continue doing that, because that is the heartbeat of Edwards. And it needs it more than ever right now in the mourning that we go through, the grieving. But the recovery part, you all embrace each other, love each other back, right? And you will get through it. And we will continue to help everybody. That is so important. I'm on card 2. All right, quick summary of career. I just want to hit a couple high marks. I reflected, there's so many back. So the big ones, right? The best thing, I couldn't believe it. Colonel Reagan said it. In this hangar, I had to demonstrate to Dr. Sky, was his name, no kidding, the flight doc, I could get out of an airplane, right? This is before, obviously, I'm sitting in a power wheelchair with one arm. So I was actually in really good shape back then. And I could get out of the back of the airplane. And we had the airplane here. It was actually on jacks. I remember they go, you can't go. I go, dude, I have to get on that airplane to prove to them so I can get on 5416. I'm only going to do low-risk missions. For one, I just want to mess with the pilots because they were so cocky in regards to their time on thrust reversers and pedals. And so Norm Howell, who was the Boeing pilot, right? You can mess with data all you want. Just let you know if you don't know engineer real time, right? Right after you just show them, yeah, you were a little slow. Sorry. TR left. Ooh, not good, Norm. He would get so mad, so competitive. And then I had to tell him, I think he was going to kick me off the jet. But I had to prove to them I could get on and off. And I did. And then I had to go brief General Pearson, the high-risk package. At that time, it was center-level approval. And he was looking at me like, you're going to, go on the airplane at high risk? I'm like, absolutely not. I'm going to be on the outside with the fire chief and make sure you guys don't quench our axles and ruin them, because that's the only ones that are on C-17 T1. And there was, a military operation going on that time. You will down our airplane for 6 months. So I'm going to be on the outside. One, I'm not going to subject the crew to that kind of, I could not get off into high risk. I would never put myself or the crew in that situation. But I got to do low risk. That was the highlight of my career, working and flying and doing data. And having leadership believe that I could do it. And they got to yes with me. So don't ever let anyone tell you, if you want to do something, don't let someone tell you no. Tell them to go find the reg, point it to you. You read it with them. You can interpret it different ways all the time, probably. But don't give up, because you can get to yes at times. Sometimes you can't. Not saying be stubborn, but do not just give up, because that was like the highlight of, and I'll never forget that, because the bond I made with the crew was phenomenal. And that report was the best report ever on this base. And I couldn't get into my lead position until that report got out. And it was hard. Man, it was hard. Anyways, all right, so that led into SPRO that he touched on, semi-prepared runway operations. Original C-17, they actually blew all the tires, and they also flooded engines at Bicycle Lake because there was volcanic rock. This happened before my time. I was working on C-17 to say, we can actually go do this test if it's planned. We learned from that. We definitely lessons learned, but we can plan it and do it. So we had to go brief at headquarters at Scott, and it was awesome because sometimes being in a chair, you can play it. I'll just say it right now that I'm retired. So I go there with Major Greer, who was at that time our director, and I have to go convince, there's probably about 606s in there at Scott headquarters going, we're not doing this test. We're not going to risk the C-17. There was a calling to go do dirt operations, not only but also wet dirt. And we really planned it out. We really researched it. We wrote a thorough plan. So we did that. But I had to go brief him. The beauty at Scott, it's very not conducive to wheelchairs. Even staying in the dorm where you stay at was kind of fun. We got there late, stayed there, figured it out. I get to go to the brief, and it's all up these stairs. And they're, we're going to move it. I'm like, no, just grab my chair. So I'm dressed in a suit, hop up the stairs, drag my chair up, and I put all of these 06s on edge. And I go, wow, man, that was a hike. I'm ready to do this brief. And they all were like, it was awesome. I mean, I got them to say yes. So we actually got approved to do the Spro. And then the next year we were cranking it out. We did 65% of the global soils wet. And we got that fielded. And you see the operations now, and it's awesome. We went to different test sites. No one got hurt. We did it correctly. We did have one blown tire. That was B6. He was our new director. But it wasn't pilot error. It just what happened. It happens. But it was an awesome part. JSF chief engineer coming back full circle, working on the design at X35, and then coming back and testing. I'm working with my Lockheed counterparts who I worked with on the design, so it was really neat. The WDA, weapons delivery accuracy, I remember that briefing General. I used to brief General Bogdan every morning, Wednesday, at his 8 o'clock stand-up, which is our 5 o'clock time. So I would get here at 4 a.m. every Wednesday and prep to brief why we didn't do something that week or what was going on. Tim's probably getting learned to do that right now with B-21. If not, it'll be coming. And we had to convince him we could do it because it was IOC and it was an issue. He was a B-2 pilot. He said, everyone did it at Eglin. Go to Eglin, the water's right there. You don't have to fly that far. I go, it's really not that far. You know, the ocean and an airplane ride from Edwards is not that far. And on top of it, we could actually go to Wismar. We could do weapons. We could do AIM-120 launches. We could do dual missions, dual launches on the same day in 2 different control rooms and knock out 4 of them in one day. And we did. And it was awesome. And having him come out here and acknowledge that part, that was card. Sorry. That was God telling me to turn the page. Because that's page 3. And before I even started, because of the memorial, I give all of my thanks to God. And if it wasn't for our Savior, I firmly believe I wouldn't be here today, coming from where I came from my parents and raising me up. I'm going to stop talking about my career because it's not about me. Well, there's things at the senior technical director I got to talk about. Because when you do it for 7.5 years almost, you got to talk about something. The most thing, and it's funny, I wrote this out very fast this morning. And then I looked at it, I go, oh wow, it goes exactly with what I think. People first, mission always. And that's how it kind of rattled out this morning, having the sun come up. Tuition assistance program. This base has the best tuition assistance program in the entire Air Force. In fact, I will go to say, because I know with the Range Commanders Council and talking with all the other test directors, the best of all services in the test community with what we do with CADP, LTFT, and ADCT. Those are acronyms. I know what does that mean. I'm not going to get into that part, but it's Civilian Academic Development Program. It's not just the testers, it's the installation. The part that I thought that was missing when I got in this seat was the installation was not being, I would just say it was merged together a long time ago, and it still needed to be forged. And that was something I was really happy to do, working with some people. We got it through the JAG. The commander was gracious with his budget to give me some really good budget. It has grown. We had over 50 people this term. We couldn't take all of those because we didn't have the finances, and there was some still, that's really not going to fit the mission. But we have so many programs now. We have ones that are directed down from managers where they can go to school on needs that we need. But this is the one where the people brief the leadership on, hey, you might need this. This is how it fits. And you get to do it part-time. If your supervisor agrees, we got it through the JAG. It's taken off. We got how many? We have 30 more we picked up, 20? So we have over 70 going right now. It's phenomenal. So I'm super proud of that. Keep that going. The fingerprint is a great okay, so prior to COVID, I got in the job in 19. General Tykert goes, the hiring process is slow, and you need to build the military-civilian relationship. Those are your two go-dos right away. I'm like, okay. I didn't know the military-civilian thing was not, I thought it was humming. I liked it, right? I read his deox. I got the picture. I was like, okay. So we did a short thing, read the Scrum book, did a sprint, and we got our own contract to get fingerprints. The reason I'm talking about this because it was pre-employment, new engineers, anybody new to the base, you have to go to a base, right? I worked with the command. It just fell on deaf ears, wouldn't get done. I said, I'm done. That was the last meeting. We're doing this. We're going to write our own contract, and then we'll just add them in the IDIQ, and then when it come around, they'll get on board with it. It's exactly what happened. So 3 of us went off, wrote our own contract, got it done in 2 months, and then COVID hit. And guess what closed? Bases. Guess what? You were still hiring. How do you do fingerprints on bases that you don't let people on? You don't. You use our contract that we wrote, and it became the one for the entire service. So very proud of that. We didn't take no for an answer. We got the contract. It's still in play. Last thing I'll talk about is, before going to technical, is the Cecil pilot program. So this was the civilian employee support liaison. Basically, we lost a lot of people during COVID, a lot of people. General Heiger came in, we lost 17 people in 1 month. It was horrible on what we were going through. Some were suicide, some were just natural causes, and some were just because of the disease. And we realized that we did not have enough support for the civilians, so we stood up this pilot program, got approval. It worked. I hired 2 phenomenal people at an NH2 level. We carried that program. We did an outstanding job. The command recognized that program. It's changed a little bit, but the mission's the same, and it's across all of the command down in the Resiliency Integration Office. That's something we did, and I'm really proud of that. The technical part, then, Data Analysis Tool Summit, the technical report rigor we have, and then tech symposiums are the highlights, and then the capstone was my RCC chair running standards with, I sent an email out yesterday introducing Mr. Stevens coming in, Dan, and I got about 12 responses from all of across the services instantly saying how fun it was to work together. That meant a lot to me yesterday. All right, scope. The best thing about this base now is the installation and the T&E core product are one team. And we're going to continue to forge that together, and that will make this team even stronger. The base structure with civilian engineering, with MSG, all that needs to continue. TPS, all that has to bridge together with the core T&E. And Colonel Tower, I really appreciate what you've done with the merging and changing that vector, because it's on the path it needs to go. And I'm really looking forward to see the outcome of it. Such a diverse aircraft portfolio here to manage. Very complicated, but it's all one team. All right, so now the thank yous really quick here, and I blew 7 minutes, sorry, and it's hot, so I'll go really faster. But all the engineers, right, the TNG, EW engineers, I had pictures, I'm still downloading, so I haven't given my computer back. I will get it to you on Tuesday, I promise. I got to do it this weekend, but I will get it to you. A lot of pictures, a lot of events with young engineers. It was really cool to see a lot of leaders out here that were with me, so continue doing that. But thank you for what you do, the engineers, what you do. Range, thank you for what you do. The early 1 o'clock drive-ins to set up a mission for 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock takeoff. People, I don't think, understand that at times. That's a lot. Ops and maintenance, without you, there's no mission, right? The maintenance team was first in my prayers that tragic day. And ops, the pilots were in my prayers. It is just such a team sport, and it's such a privilege to work with professionals and people like that. It is just, it's humbling to sit and watch and be in meetings and listen to different ideas that are just like, wow, that's great idea. MSG, CEG, and WISA, TPS, how they continue to feed our future leaders is so important to do. So thank you for what you do. I'm definitely going to miss those interactions and how I could help and do things. All right, for the leadership in the front office, Colonel Tower, Colonel Hayes, Scar, thanks for your trust in me to lead this team. Leading the civilians is a privilege and an honor, and I really enjoyed that part. It seemed natural to me, but at times it was hard when there's people that are having problems, because it can't just be when it's good. It's also when things are not good. But thanks for your confidence in me to continue to lead the civilian leaders. I really like that part of the job. And I really, really enjoyed working with you all. General Wickert as well. I learned so much different aspects from each commander. People ask me, it's like, how is it to work with different commanders as a civilian coming in with not any military background? My friends and family, I tell my parents, and I say, it's awesome because you learn so many different things, but then they rely on you on certain things like, why did you guys do it that way? Or the background before they make decisions or they, change things. So that continuity of the civilian baseline with leadership is the key in Lynchstone. And so it's just a humbling experience to work there. Leadership team. So we weathered the budget, high tempo for one goal, and that's the warfighter. So continue to do that with the finances, solvency, hiring. Don't give the missions away. And most importantly, keep the E in T&E at Edwards Air Force Base. And what does that mean, Mom and Dad? That means the evaluation, the test and evaluation. It's not just executing the mission. It's doing the data analysis, finding the root causes, writing reports that are timely to help decision makers make the correct decision against sometimes contractors that maybe might not have that, but it's not. It's an integrated team here at Edwards. But yeah, please keep the E. This is where I write one card says pause, right? You gotta love AI sometimes. Kathy, I have something for you. It's a very tiny gift, but usually it's when I'm in trouble. This is hopefully not one of those times. Kathy, there's no words to describe how solid of a person you are. You come from a military background. You knew I worked late, but more importantly, when I first met you 33 years ago, she corrected my drawings at Northrop, by the way. I would send them, and she'd configuration management and classified, so I go, that ain't right, dude. And she had a sparkle in her eye, and I'm like, wow, this is one beautiful lady, and I think she likes me. I think, or I'm just really stupid and constantly screwing up my drawings on purpose to talk to her. But you are definitely, you are the light of my life, and you shine greatness in my life, so thank you for what you do. I love you so much. I look forward to doing things going forward, but we're always going to be there. Thank you so much. You can go get it. Yeah. Houston, Wyatt, I missed a lot of things traveling a lot at times on some programs. I tried to be there most of the time, but I knew some things I missed. But your mom did awesome when I wasn't there. But I did have great supervisors, and if you're out there, supervisors, you can say yes to this. I got to coach my daughter's Christian basketball team for 3 years at 6th, 7th, and 8th grade because of a gentleman named Pat DeBria, who's also retiring in a month, let me go, and there was this new thing invented called a cell phone. So at Westside Christian, I got to teach basketball, coach basketball to 6th and 7th and 8th graders by the Antelope Valley Mall outside in the warm weather in January and February. And it was an awesome experience. And we did win championships, which was great. We beat the Catholics, but there was no holy war. But it was awesome because we were underdogs and we crushed their skulls in the championship. So Wyatt, got to do baseball with you and coach. It was fun. And then you took that on your own, and then you umpire the league and you do all this stuff. You both got giving hearts. Thank you for being you. Sorry I wasn't there all the time, but I definitely love you very much. CC and B, welcome. Love you guys both so much, and we're going to have a great time ahead. And Uncle Roger, thanks for coming out. We were sharing stories about my uncle. He used to race motocross, or do a super speedway, and he reminded me I was born when he was 16, and this is where you're a baby, you're in the window, and people just drive up and look at you like at a bank. You kind of look at you and drive by like, that kid's ugly. Keep going, but we were talking about that, but thanks a lot for being here. It's a tight family. Dad, and Mom, I don't know where to start, right? I'll start with Mom. I hated English in high school. I didn't hate it. It wasn't interesting to me. I liked math. I loved skateboarding, and surfing was phenomenal. So I tried to work school in, and my mom was constantly, no, you're not going until this is done right. She stayed after me, and thanks for that, Mom. Thanks for teaching me that you would need your education at some point. We had no idea what was going to happen, and it did. And I was able to flip gears and go to school. So thank you for that. And then thanks for everything. You've supported me through all of my funness of life on everything that's been challenging. Dad, it was cool to have a dad who actually designed stuff. He's a mechanic. He's an off-road racer, retired now as well. But no matter what it was a boat I couldn't figure out how to drive. They designed a mechanism for me to drive. Him and my grandfather built it. So as soon as I got out, I was able to drive our jet boat again. I was able to go jet ski. I did break an arm with them. There's this Mom and Dad. They yelled at me. Arm was kind of hanging there. But it's what happens when you jump the wake and you're in it. And you drop the rope and you go with your left hand to grab it and it goes through the V. It's like, that's not supposed to happen, but it did. And it was not a fun afternoon that day. But we stayed another day at the river, and then we went home. But Dad, you were just awesome. All the stuff you did in the modifications for my cars, houses, off-road, you were always there. You never let me out of sight and out of mind. And all your friends at the river and the off-road stuff we did, I'll never forget. It was such a blast. Thank you for being amazing parents. Close out, sign out. Here we go. It's not 7 minutes. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot the flowers. Thanks, Holly. I told you I'd dork it up. Mom, these flowers are for you. Thanks for all your love and support and all my screw-ups and keeping me in line through life. I don't know how you did it. I was blessed with my children. You probably not as much. So sorry about that. But as we sit here. So thank you. All right. So I'm leaving the Test Spring CT in great hands. Dan Stevenson is a phenomenal leader. He actually has been here before. He's 775th Test Squadron. Competed for a job, didn't get it, kept his head up, took the feedback from actually our SCS at the time, Dr. Bjorkman, to go expand your career, go do like program office. So he literally did leave, and we were like, no, don't go now, because we really wanted him. But he did, and it was the right thing to do. He went to Space Force, did some phenomenal classified stuff. His decorations are off the chart. He's much younger than me, much smarter than me, much more energy than me. He's going to lead this team with greatness, and I'm so excited that the team chose him to backfill me. We've had great we talked about how we're going to do this because of my situation and everything. And so we did Teams is great, right? We did all these Teams meetings, recorded it, transcribed, several 2.5-hour discussions, meetings, questions answered, downloaded the transcript, ran it in AI, and came out with a book. And it works. So he's got everything. So if anyone's going to try stuff, I already ratted you out on where it's going to come from. So good luck. But no, he knows where to go pick up, and he's going to do great. The thing I ask is to give him the incredible support you've always given me, and I know you will. Keep pushing the envelope and hold the highest standards, right? We got to do that. We've got to move at the speed of relevancy, but we got to do it with safety as well. So keep doing that. And do not relinquish the E and T and E. Did I already say that? I think I did. Again, thank you for an incredible journey. It has been an amazing ride. I wouldn't trade it a minute. It's a hard decision to make, and I got through this without really tearing up too bad. So thank you, God, for getting me through it. I love you all, and thanks so much.
Thank you, Mr. Osburn. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the singing of the Air Force song and the departure of the official party. We ask that you remain at your seats until the official party and family have departed.